All right, I guess this is gonna go on YouTube or something. I probably should have done this earlier. I'm not a YouTuber, blogger, vlogger guy at all. But today, with the help of my buddy Tony, who's not here because he had to leave for some family stuff, we had a giant mod day. We put a Prinzu rack on his 4Runner, which took like an hour and a half with 2 people. Super easy. I'm gonna get one of those later down the road. But my truck, we put in a ARB air compressor, the dual compressor, and then also a Switch Pro for that on top of a RAGO mount. And so I'm just gonna kind of go over what it looks like. The install is kind of already finished. Somewhat frustrating. I'll explain why in a minute, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like in the truck. So here's the air compressor right here. That's the twin 1-2 motors. I did not get the ARB inflator kit, which comes with the ARB quick disconnect right here. I didn't know it came separate, the quick disconnect. I thought maybe, you know, you're paying a pretty good penny for these things. At least they should give you the quick disconnect. So this is actually from Home Depot. I don't know, I paid like maybe a couple bucks for it. It clears the hood just fine. I mean, I don't know how much room there is above it, but it doesn't touch the roof. Great. It might get a little warm after long periods of use. I tested this thing out for, I don't know, maybe a minute, and it was getting lukewarm. So that would be just as a caution, FYI, if you're going to be filling up a bunch of tires for a long period of time, you probably would want to wear gloves when turning, when handling this thing, like to release your air hose. Another thing, the wiring harness that comes with the air compressor is retarded. Excuse my language, but this is fucking really long. I don't know, it probably came with like a 6 or 8 foot harness, but so here's the power right here. Probably better to see it this way. So you're gonna have 2 like 10 gauge wires for hot, 2 10 gauge wires for ground, and then like a tiny little, I don't know, 18, 20, 22 gauge right here. And then the harness plugs in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate wires, and you're gonna follow it all the way around. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay. And as you can see here, you have your 2 hot wires individually fused. There's 2 40 amp fuses in here. What I did, I joined these 2 wires, and instead of running 2 ring terminals to the battery, I got 1 copper ring terminal. This is an 8 gauge 5/16 hole. Just keep that in mind. 8 gauge for the 2 10 gauge wires to run into 1 8 gauge ring terminal, and then the hole is 5/16 to fit over this bolt. So we had to run around to O'Reilly's, they didn't have it. I called AutoZone, they didn't have it. Went to Pep Girls, they didn't have it. And finally we went to, actually this is from Pep Girls, I'm sorry. The copper is from Pep Girls. But what I was trying to do, you can see this mess over here. I wanted to get the ring terminals with the heat shrink on it. The copper ones, here we go. These are the ones from Pep Girls. So 5/16 inch is the size of the hole inside the ring, and then the 8 gauge is the size of the wiring going in there. So 2 10 gauge wires did fit into the 8 gauge. We went to Home Depot also, and I don't know There we go. So we went to Home Depot and I found 6 gauge ring terminals, 3/8 inch stud, which would have worked a little bit larger than the battery bolt, but it did have the insulation, so I figured since we were there, they had it, why not? But we did go to Pep Girls. They had these. It's the copper. There's no insulation or heat shrink, but that's fine because as you see here, I put heat shrink on all this, the wire loom. So that's for the positive. You're gonna wire the compressor directly to the battery. You're not gonna run through the Switch Pro. It's too much power. Directly to the battery is how you want to do it. For the ground, here's the ground right here. Again, I wire loomed it and it goes to the inside of the fender on the ground bolt that's going to the negative battery post. So sooner down the road, eventually, I hope sooner than later, I'm going to trim all this excess wire harness because this is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to stuff this under here somewhere temporarily, but that's one plug. The second plug back here I did not use. I don't know if it's for, I'm pretty sure it's for the air lockers. If you're running air lockers, I'm 2-wheel drive, I don't have any lockers at all, but thanks to Al from sponsored by Wifey on Instagram, that's his handle, he gave me a heads up and he said to basically wire tap into the purple wire, which is the middle wire in this black plug. So basically did like a wire, I don't know what these called, couplers, like these things right here. So I ran a jumper, whatever these things are called, under this nasty electrical tape that I hate using, and then the red wire from the Switch Pro goes to the number 2 switch on the inside controller. So I think it's gonna be a let me find it. No, there we go. Okay, switch 2 is 20 amps. So 1 through 4 are 20 amps. 5 through 8 are 35 amps. It's on the Switch Pro pamphlet that it comes with, a little brochure, installation instructions, whatever. So I don't think it really mattered if I used a 20 or 35 amps switch for the compressor, because it's literally just a signal to turn the compressor on or off. It's drawing all the power directly from the battery. I'm going to figure out with the Switch Pro how to be able to turn the compressor on only when the truck is running, just so that, you know, the battery doesn't die from the truck being off while I'm using this air compressor, because I'm sure it draws a ton of power. Some other things that we ran into, I would try to find a socket for these Allen screws that goes above the air compressor instead of using an Allen wrench, because Allen wrench, it's only gonna, you know, come up here on the L, and then the long side you're not gonna have any room to tighten these screws. I did use a Torx bit, not the right tool to use. It kind of did fit a little bit to tighten these down. There's a single bolt attached to this leg down there. It's kind of not really self-explanatory, but maybe I'll throw in a picture that better shows where that screw is, or the bolt that holds the leg for the support of the RAGO Fabrication bracket. And as you can tell, I'm not completely done yet. I still have this whole wiring job to clean up, fix. But anyways, you can see the Switch Pro is right here. If you have a 2016 Tacoma, I have a TRD Sport, 2-wheel drive, automatic transmission. It's very tight right here on the brake fluid reservoir. It doesn't touch the mount, it does not touch the compressor, but just FYI, as a heads up, it is very, very tight. It's like, pardon my French again, a few cunt hairs away. What else? The Switch Pro positive cable, which is right here, it was just barely long enough in this orientation to fit all along through here, between the compressor and the inside of the fender. You can kind of see it, it's down there. That's the positive cable for the Switch Pro. It's barely long enough to come around and go to this side of the positive battery terminal. If you have the Switch Pro orientated the 180 degrees opposite, so you have the lug on the back side closer to the firewall, you're gonna have to get a custom length positive battery cable, because the one that comes with will not fit. It'll be at least probably 6 inches short, so that's why I had to orientate it this way. Another thing, this white cable, again, I have to clean this up, but this white cable goes into the cab of the truck. And prior to the Switch Pro, here's the controller, but prior to having this set up, I ran my light bar switch right here. Now this is completely redundant because there's nothing plugged into it in the back. Before the Switch Pro, this was plugged into my 30-inch light bar that's in the bumper, and the wiring instructions for that, obviously you have positive, negative for the light bar itself, and you're also going to have a ground, and then the fourth wire, I believe it's going to be a red with a green stripe, I forget, but that wire goes to sense if your headlights are on or not. That way at night when your headlights are on, this will illuminate right here, I believe. I can't remember if it's the top or the bottom. It will illuminate blue or whatever color the switch is at night, and then once it's powered on, the other half of this switch light will turn on to let you know that the accessory is on or off. I can't remember anymore which one turned on with the headlights and which one turned on when the light bar was on. But when I did wire this 3 years ago, I did find the wire behind here. So the white wire that I just showed you from the Switch Pro that senses your headlights are on or not, on or off, will assist with the backlight of this. So at night when you're driving, your headlights are on, I guess this backlight will turn on, and then once you have your accessory turned on, this little small dash above each switch will turn on when the accessory is on, and then will turn off when the accessory is off. So I ordered the SDHQ mount that goes in place of this whole thing right here. It'll allow me to keep the factory switch for the cargo lamp. It'll allow me to keep the factory switch for my power inverter in the bed that comes factory. I will have to find another blank for this because I probably threw it away 3 years ago. But the most important part of that SDHQ product is that you do lose your cubby hole right here. That's fine, I don't use it. However, it will allow you to mount this Switch Pro in its place right there, and then the wiring will, you know, go through the back however it goes through. So I gotta obviously clean up some wiring stuff in here. This is gonna get tucked, all this excess is gonna get tucked under the dash when I do the SDHQ product, when I install it here, I'll do another video showing, you know, the finished product, but I believe the instructions are pretty self-explanatory, or pretty well written from what I've looked at and seen online, YouTube, Google, whatever, Tacoma World. So I gotta clean all this up. This whole wiring harness, these all go to individual accessories. So you can run 8 accessories to my knowledge, up to 8. Right now I only have the compressor run on this red wire. The wires that come in doubles, such as the green, this purple, this blue right here, and this gray, these are for your 35 amp. So I'm assuming that they're 2 wires each color because it's a higher amp circuit, or I don't know, whatever it's called. And then your individual wires here, the pink one, it's a trigger of some sort. I don't think I'm going to be using that. And then you have your I guess you could call that brown or gray, yellow, orange. These will be switches 1, 3, and 4, because the red one is number 2. I don't know what I'm going to be running for the switches 5 through 8, but I have this wire right here that is going to go to this is for my VHF radio. I don't know what switch yet. I mean, I have it written down, I haven't wired it in yet. That's going to be for the VHF radio. I'm going to have to clean up some wiring here, but this is going to be for the 30-inch light bar. And then I do have the ditch lights, or the pillar lights, that are right here. So again, I'm gonna have to clean this up and figure out what am I gonna do with that. The way that this compressor mounts to the RAGO compressor tray, it's self-explanatory in their own video. And then it didn't fit 100% on like a dry fit. Once these 2 bolts down here go in, and once you have the bolt for the leg, it was kind of like wonky. I had to put some pressure on this back corner so that both of these bolts sit flush onto the tray. I would recommend using Loctite on these 3 screws, 1, 2, 3, just because this thing vibrates so much. The 4 bolts that this is attached with to the tray, we used Loctite, just from the vibration. You know, I don't want anything coming loose or losing a bolt. What else can I this is the positive cable for the Switch Pro right here. Overall, you know, we didn't go through the instruction manual at all. We didn't really go online for any help putting the compressor together. The blue wire, the light blue wire I should say, I don't know where it's at. Here it is. This light blue wire, this is used to sense if the ignition is on or not. I found something on Tacoma World where they had an ADA fuse, I believe it's called, and they put it into the fuse block here. So what I did, one of the, you can kind of, let me get a flashlight. So what I did, that blue wire right there coming out of, let me see if you guys can see this or not. There is a blue wire that's coming out of that harness. That harness goes inside this fuse block. So that blue wire senses the ignition from the Switch Pro, and then inside the fuse block I had an ADA fuse onto, I believe it was like a fuel injector, what's it called? Like a fuel injector fuse that I tapped into. I guess it works because the Switch Pro works. I will have to figure out with these settings in the Switch Pro how that comes into play. But right now, with the truck completely off, I can run this air compressor, which, I mean, you know, it's personal preference if you want to be able to run this with the truck off, but you're going to be drawing from the battery when there's no charging current going in. So you can very well kill your battery running your air compressor, you know, for an extended period of time. I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to only run my air compressor when the truck is running, just for a precaution, so I don't kill the battery. So I gotta wire my radio in somehow to a switch, my 30-inch light bar right here to a switch, and then the pillar pods, pillar lights, ditch lights, whatever you want to call them, I gotta wire those in. And then I'm gonna tuck all that wire back in there. So there are guys that run like a bus bar. I might have room to put a bus bar in here. It may, you know, look a lot cleaner, but I would have to take all this stuff out again in order to do all the wiring for that. It'll be a pain in the ass, but I think that it will look cleaner in the long run, instead of having all this rainbow colored lighting or wires just, you know, all flimsy like you see it here. So to recap, would I do it again? Sure. It, you know, it wasn't don't forget your victory beer. I'm not even done yet, I'm taking a break. Would I do it again? Yes. Is it a pain in the ass? Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, I would seek the help of someone that's done this at least once before on a similar or the same vehicle to assist you along the way, either help in person or someone that you can call up real quick. I would say it's probably easier to do with a second pair of hands. This is a wiring harness that came from the came with a air compressor from ARB. I don't know if it's for the air lockers. I didn't use it, so yeah, I mean, as you can see, like I have all my crap out. I have all this crap out. I would invest in some nice wire loom right here. It'll make the, you know, your install job look a lot cleaner. Kind of anal about that. What else? This right here will help you figure out what switches turn on what accessory. So like I said, here you have your switch 1 through 8, and I think this is how I'm going to do it. My switch 1 will be my 30-inch light bar. This is already connected to my compressor. These will be my ditch lights, and I think I'm going to put my VHF radio on switch 4. That way it's not directly to the battery, and if I accidentally leave it on, it doesn't draw power and kill my battery when the truck's not running. And then 5 through 8, I don't have those accessories. I don't have any accessory to wire in here, but eventually maybe I might put some lights, some scene lights on the back of my bed rack that I have for my rooftop tent, and some scene lights on, you know, either side maybe. That's pretty much it. You know, make sure you have all of your tools and your, you know, parts available before you get an elbow deep in this. We made one trip. Technically it was like 5 different places, but while we were working on this, we only had to leave one time to get those ring terminals. Your personal experience, your results may vary depending on your application, the size of the battery terminal bolt, you know, or however you want to do it. So another thing that harness I was telling you about, or I don't know if I mentioned it. So Switch Pro does sell a ARB compressor harness This will not match, this will go to the small, the smaller of the two connectors from the compressor. So this right here has the black, purple, and red wire coming out of it. I believe the other end of that is where this harness comes into play. Actually, it's right there. That would be the other end of that black connection. We're not running air lockers, so we don't need any of this. I'm pretty sure that's what that's for. So like I said, Switch Pro does make a harness to go from this plug into here. And if you look at the Switch Pro installation guide, it does say that your yellow and green wires will go to the switches for your air lockers, leaving the red for your signal to turn the compressor on or off. So would I use this? I could depend the green and the yellow because I'm not using those two wires for air lockers. But to have this big old switch just to run one wire, it didn't make sense. So that's why I did like the chingaderas here, whatever these are called. So I'm gonna return this back to where I got it from. I didn't use it, you don't need it. If you're running air lockers, it might be handy, but then you would have to go from this to this connector, whatever. What else? That's pretty much it. It's just a wiring nightmare. I know this video is kind of long. I'm gonna edit it up, but oh, I guess I'll show you. So I didn't buy the ARB inflator kit. I eventually will probably get the digital ARB digital air gauge. This is just a cheapo $20 air gun or air gauge from Home Depot. I got the air gauge. I had to get a male coupling right here that goes into your quick disconnect right here, and then also on the other end I had to get the male plug here. So this male plug will go into this quick disconnect. So there's air in here because it's been running. Okay, so that's in, and there's no air in it, obviously. So this is the app. I'm gonna put in my password. The loading sucks. I don't know why. Okay, so the main screen with the app has all your switches. You can control it from your phone, which I didn't know. It connects to Bluetooth. So I have this switch labeled. That's the only thing that I have plugged in right now. So that powers that. And so now I have air. Something that you may not know with the ARB dual or twin, probably the single as well, but there is a small tank, a very small tank in here for like reserve air. So once you power this thing on, it'll run for, I don't know, 10-20 seconds, and then it'll shut off. The first time I turned this on, it ran, and then it turned off. I didn't know that it probably filled this little reserve tank. Once I put this in, air came out, so I knew that there was air in here. Once that air purged out, it continued to run. So I have this hooked up, and I'll show you how this works. These are 45 caliber valve stem covers. It's just glued with that rubber cover inside here, you know, kind of cool. This goes on like such. It's tight, and then so this cheap ass Home Depot analog gauge, it's showing, I don't know, 35-36 pounds. 40 psi. It does have a quick release right here to let air out if you overinflate your tires, or if you didn't, you know, make the mark that you're aiming for. I run it at like 35, 36 psi. I have TPMS in this truck, so when the truck is on, I can look in the dash and it'll tell me the pressure for each tire. And I'm trying to get to the 36 psi mark. That's where the digital air gauge will come in handy. ARB makes one for about 50 or 60 bucks. Pretty cool. Better than, you know, trying to guess with the analog gauge. So eventually, yeah, I'll get rid of this one, this analog, for the ARB digital. I think I'm gonna keep this hose. This is from Home Depot. It's a Husky brand. It's I think 25 feet. It coils up. It'll reach the driver rear, and then it'll also reach the I'll show you. I was kind of skeptical. I was kind of skeptical with this hose, but let me just pull this. But look at that. I have plenty more room. I can go fill up, you know, somebody else's tires over here. But it does reach. I like this coiled hose. You know, would I recommend this hose? Sure. There's other products out there. I know there's Morflate or Indiflate, those companies that do make like a splitter, so you can have a little short length hose that comes out of your quick disconnect from the compressor, and then it'll split, so you can fill 2 tires simultaneously once you have them connected to the valve stem. They say that it will equalize the pressure, so if you have like 30 here and 35 here, it'll equalize them both to, I'm guessing 32.5 is probably 30 and 35, you know, the halfway point, which is cool. And then, like I said, you can inflate both tires at the same time, and they will inflate to, in theory, I haven't tested it out, but they will inflate the tires to the same pressure, and then you'll swing it around, you know, to the other side. You know, you can do the driver's side together, passenger side together, or probably the front 2 tires and maybe the rear 2 tires at the same time. I'm gonna have to fidget with how that would work as far as the length of the hose. But for now, those are my initial thoughts on this whole setup. Pretty easy. The RAGO tray, it, you know, it works. It does what it needs to do. The compressor fits. There was no issues with installing that. I would say these 2 bolts right here are a 1/2 inch bolt. Get ratcheting wrenches, because if you don't get ratcheting wrenches, you have just a normal box wrench with the close and open end, you're going to be doing this over and over, versus if you have the ratcheting style, you put the ratcheting closed end over your bolt, and you don't even have to take the wrench off of the bolt, you just ratchet it. I would get one of those 1/2 inch for these, and then, as I mentioned before, get the tool for these Allen head bolts. I think they're called button head. All right, all you cool cats and YouTubers, I'm gonna finish this video up. It's daytime. It's not in the dark, so the lighting conditions are better for this. I'll be able to show you what everything under the hood looks like as of now that I cleaned up some of the wiring from last night. It still, to me, looks like a rat's nest. I'll show you here. So all of this wire loom here is all from the Switch Pro. Wires that are and are not being used, all bundled in this right here. So as I mentioned before, if you have seen some guys running the bus bars, basically it would go underneath this plug. So it would go basically on that section of the tray that is still open. I don't know if there's going to be enough room in there to run like a bus bar, but it would be a lot cleaner because I would get rid of all this. Same thing with the harness for the air compressor, which you can see here. It's bundled up, it's shoved in here, but everything works as it should, and you know, there's nothing else that I can do other than to clean up the wiring later on down the road. This will get me to where I need to go now. Later on down the road, when I want this to get cleaned up, look better, I will you know, I'll tackle that with some help, hopefully. Okay, so the inside, as I also mentioned before, I ordered the SDHQ Switch Pro dash panel thing from SDHQ. It's for the Tacoma. So right now this is just dangling because I ran it through, and once I get the panel in, I think it'll be in a few days, I can assemble all this and I can tuck this back up under the dash, and then this right here will be mounted as such. So for now, I guess I'm using my cubby, so right now I have four accessories plugged in or wired into this switch. So I do have my A-pillar and my bumper lights. So as you can see, the orange lights or red lights, whatever color you want to call it, those are on, and I'll show you. Yeah, that light's on, and yep, that light's on, and yep, that light's on. Okay, so proof that I kind of know how to do some wiring. Not the most professional, or I don't refer to myself as an expert. Okay, so turn those off. The air compressor is not going to go on because I have it programmed to only go on when the truck is running. I mentioned that earlier. I'll run the truck in a second. The radio, it's under my seat, so it's a VHF radio. It's an Icom model F5021, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show you guys. Okay, so here's the radio right there. Okay, so up and down changes the channel, and I usually keep it on Weatherman. I do have my own squirrel net channel. We'll go into that a different time, different video. And then right here, the microphone plugs in there. So so little peep, the dash. So my phone will sit here. This is the microphone for the antenna that's underneath my seat. I can't transmit because the antenna is not screwed in. This right here is for my iPad. You can run any other tablet to a pretty good, decent size. This is the Expedition Essentials, I believe it's called. The TPAM with the USB. Hondo Garage made this air vent mount. I had this before I got that. It is ridiculously hot. Let me get my keys. I'll run the air compressor so you can see what it sounds like. Turn that air up. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this radio off. And then air, as you can see, the truck's running, And now the air compressor's on. That's how that works. I'm not a YouTuber, blogger, vlogger. I'm not gonna get a million views on this. It's just for educational purposes only. It is, like I said, yeah. This is a video for educational purposes only. There are hundreds of ways to do this installation with the wiring and everything. So do it however you want to do it. This is one of many ways. That's all I got. Thanks for tuning in.